Good evening or good afternoon, wherever you are. This is your host, Dr. Gilbert Githere, coming to your home with Mazungumzo. And what we are dealing with now is the analysis of Being and Time by Martin Heidegger. And we are in part 17. We are really inside, in the deep waters of thought. And today I thought is appropriate to throw in an example of temporality, because when you use temporality in discussing existence, you require to go into the primordial, the beginning of time, so that the influence of modernity does not influence the temporality when it temporizes. And a good example is when you use computer programs, a logarithm for 2023, and you're using the Kikuyu language. The words you type could even be actually transformed into a completely different words. And that's what you actually is a good example of temporality, because like I'm using this song by Francis Joroge. Those people who are familiar with Kenyan musicians, they will remember Francis Njoroge. He used to play music in one of the Malindi International casinos. And also he was once a jazz musician around Nairobi, and he played in different places. He's a kind of a jazz artist. And also, I think for some time he played music with African heritage. That one I need to be corrected. And he sang this Kikuyu song, which when I was typing it in the program, using one of the programs in Microsoft and Google, when I typed the word Oka, which means come in Kikuyu, it would change it into okay. Because the logarithm doesn't have the sense of the discourse and language of Kikuyu. So you can see how much shortchanged the indigenous languages are when we go into the future of, 2027, 2020, 2030. If we don't take care to make a logarithm also understand indigenous languages, so that when they see them, they're familiar with the indigenous languages of the world are going to be endangered species, and they could disappear. And that's a good example. And Francis Joroge sang this beautiful song, Kinyukia, Kinyukia, Oka, Oka, Oka. Kinyukia, Kinyukia, Oka, Oka, Oka. Ndihangwe tereire, oketo ikithanio, totweke kendo kimwe, mere no mere. Kinyukia, Kinyukia, Oka, Oka, Oka. Kinyukia, Okango embereirie, onango mumunye, sondo ndina gikeno, gitangithimika. Gaka nĩ kahinda karĩa tũtũire twetereire. Kinyukia, Kinyukia mwendwa. Kinyukia, Kinyukia, Oka, Oka. Ngwĩkĩrege, ngwĩkĩrege cũĩ, kĩara-inĩ kĩa wĩra, Andu othe matuĩke aira, we wakwa kinya gũkua. Ngwĩkĩre gĩcũhĩ kĩara-inĩ kĩa wĩra, andũ othe matuĩke aira, we wakwa kinya gũkua. Gaka nĩ kahinda karĩa tũtũire twetereire, kinyukia, kinyukia mwendwa, ũtarĩ na guoya, ũtarĩ na nganja, kinyukia, kinyukia mwendwa. This is just because I'm dealing with temporality. And temporality in Martin Heidegger's concept, it temporizes because there is awaiting and retention. Because ideas in human beings, like this song when Njoroge was thinking about it, he had over time pondered over it. Sometimes he's doing just cooking, and he's thinking about it, so his mind is traveling. And he's going to childhood, and he's wondering, what should he put in the song? That's temporality and temporizing in the aspect of existential ontological phenomenology. And you can see is a brain, playing with ideas. And awaiting and retention and concern in actually Martin Heidegger's concept these are very, very important phenomena. Now, as you see here in part 17, temporality of falling, because falling is being there. Being there is in the world of trials and temptations of the human being, trying to survive. And that is called falling. And human beings, in the concept of being in the world, within the world, they are thrown out there. Because you can imagine this big universe with a small human being, out there, exploring the environment and the big universe given to him. It's really a challenging thing. And actually, Martin Heidegger gives that concept. He calls it falling, thrownness, everydayness, to try and survive. In analyzing, understanding, and state of mind, we come to those primary ecstasies that go against what we were trying to do. And at times, the analysis were not possible using temporality. Because as a good example here to remember is when Martin Heidegger dealt with the issue of the hammer. Once the hammer is uncovered or unconcealed as an entity in Daseins' life for his existence, he uses it to build a cabin, for example, in Alaska where it's very cold, or to put up a tent or a structure in the Sahara where the climate is really hostile. And as he's doing it, he's not saying, oh, I'm going to go, and he's saying, hammer, oh, go, nail, go in, nail, go in. No, it becomes a reflex action. He's just doing it automatically. And there he temporizes. Temporality is helping him. He's traveling over time. He is in the future trying to see how is he going to be, how is he going to survive when he's an old man. Does he have to do some saving of some money? And he's thinking about the future, but he's building a cabin. And that is actually temporality temporizing and historizing, is also creating history at the same time as he does the hammering. That's why you see Martin Heidegger really use that very important example, because shelter is of utmost importance. When you start to work, you want to buy yourself a nice house, because once you invest in a house, that's the biggest investment in survival and existence. So Martin Heidegger uses the hammer, which actually makes a dwelling a reality. And he uses a hammer. As you use the hammer to build yourself a shelter, you're also at the same time doing a time travel from birth to death. You're thinking about when you were a child, how your parents were treating you, the things they taught you, the things you learned from them, the understanding, their perception, the cognition. You're all utilizing them and thinking about them as you are building a cabin when you're about 31 years old, somewhere in Alaska, in really severe weather of winter. You're doing that time travel. Temporality is temporizing and historizing. Understanding concerns itself with the future, while moods are for the past, which Martin calls having been. And lastly, but not the least, falling is a variable of care. This bothers itself with the present. So, as we continue with this, because I can't go into the details of every sentence on every paragraph to kind of elaborate it in full, you got to kind of read it and decipher it and try to unconceal it and deconstruct it. As Jacques Derrida used to say, in every text, you go to deconstruct the sentence or even the words to kind of understand exactly what are we saying about the things of modernity or postmodernity. In general, falling is seen in the realm of idle talk, ambiguity, and curiosity. Falling. It creates this, it's like an survival and existence. It's like idle talk, ambiguity, and curiosity, because we don't know what the future will bring. In the world of temporality, curiosity is the ideal equivalent of falling. So curiosity is the one we are going to use in this section to decipher entities that go with falling. Curiosity. Because human beings, one funny thing, they survive their environment because they're curious. They want to make their lives better, and curiosity becomes the hamburger for them to maneuver the labyrinth, the maze of life, and the transit things of life. It's a maze, a labyrinth. Life is a labyrinth. They go to be curious, to be able to survive their environments, and to reach to a level where they are sending satellites to the outer space. That's all curiosity of human beings. Without curiosity, you will never go anywhere. So curiosity becomes an aspect where to understand falling there, being thrown out there and trying to exist and to unconceal and to discover entities which in the end will make you be able to survive the environment. Curiosity becomes an essential part of existence. Dasein is always curious, especially when it comes to potentiality of seeing. Sight helps design interact with entities still in the realm of ready to hand and those present at hand. Dasein can actually understand these entities as he explores his environment. The ability to see these entities boldly is a variable of the present. So, as I said earlier, there is the sciences that human beings and Dasein is included that precede or come after. Dasein is using existential ontological phenomenology, ecstasis, and temporality, and all kind of primordial situations to discover the entities who make him survive the environment. There is also the scientific side, which is life. And somebody like Wartenberg York, and Dilthey, Wilhelm Dilthey, the philosophers of the olden days during Martin Heidegger's time in Germany, they also discussed how history forms itself. Mostly York and Dilthey, they dealt with the existence of human beings, not from existence, but they used a substance, life. They looked at life itself, how you discover things and items to help your life become easier and comfortable. Sciences help us to decipher and unconceal entities which will make us comfortable and progress into higher levels of thinking. Science is very much part of it. And Martin Heidegger doesn't go through life using substance as the main item of life or sciences. He uses existence and language and discourse for a man to arrive to discover who are the entities that help Dasein survive the rough world. So you can see a present at hand and ready to hand. They actually undeciphered things through the scientific route. And that's why you're seeing that also Dasein at one time, he also is helped to exist by things which have been, or entities that have been unconcealed by the sciences. His potentiality to survive, potentiality of being, is helped by science also. So you will see they travel together. There are entities that are actually in the existential ontological phenomenology and are deciphered through that route. But at the same time, the sciences also is a route of to unconceal and to discover things. So when you hear present at hand and ready to hand, you must think of sciences and also the natural sciences. Dasein is always curious, especially when it comes to potential. I'll repeat that. When it comes to potentiality of seeing, sight helps Dasein interact with the entities still in the realm of ready to hand and those present at hand. Dasein can actually understand these entities as he explores the environment. The ability to see these entities boldly is a variable of the present. Present is an ecstasis component that helps curiosity be able to work in the world of temporality. Curiosity is always interested in the entities it sees around itself. some of them not yet concealed, but still there, in a state of ready to hand and present at hand. Curiosity is also very much interested in the state of having been and the future. There isn't always wanting to discover something new. This behavior is in the realm of negating to wait, but rather insisting on making present that which is hidden in the future. That's a mouthful. You got to decipher these kind of statements, because in discovering or innovating, there is a lot of temporality and temporizing actually happening in the world of Martin Heidegger. Because in discovering things, there is a ground that these things are happening, and it is influenced. That world is influenced by temporality and temporizing. It's like an ecstasy. It's like a dream world. So you hear people who are creative, they will say, oh, I came upon this discovery in my dream. Temporizing and temporality is a dream world. It's a world of discovery. And it's constantly happening. Making present is actually the situation where you are almost discovering an innovation. Archimedes, Eureka, that time he discovers the law of flotation. A body displaces its own mass. When you immerse it in, it displaces the water of its weight. Eureka. That is making present. The present has been pushed away by making present. Because when Archimedes was waiting and retaining that thought, in temporality and temporizing, he's actually in an action of moment of vision in that horizon. He's going to discover something at that. And the present has been pushed away by making present. Making present in the world of Martin Heidegger is so important. It's actually a trigger, it's a catalyst for discovery and invention and innovation. To discover that link that you require in the research that you're doing. Making present is actually the real thing. Curiosity is always wanting to unconceal those entities that are not yet known for in nature. Curiosity is futural, always wanting to know what is there in the days or years to come. Making present moves fast from one situation to another. One can say it is full of curiosity. Even before that which has unconcealed is settled, making present is already on the move. You know, your curiosity for invention and innovation is futuristic, is always looking in the future. How will the cars fly? You know, because there's a lot of traffic jam. We want to have cars which can take off and fly at any time you want. You want to travel to Mars anytime you want. And you don't want hindrances. You want to get into your vehicle or into the shuttle, and there you go. 5 times the speed of light or speed of sound. Before light is so fast. You want to get to that point. And curiosity is actually futuristic. It's out there. So the present at hand is actually the vehicle of curiosity. Actually, in the thought world of Martin Heidegger, making present is actually this vehicle which is a futuristic and is always ahead in those people who are deeply in thought and ideas because they want to make our lives better. Dialectically, making present is one and the same thing with awaiting. It also makes sure that curiosity does not look to be attached to something and it remains a free spirit. That's why, you got to let people think freely. If you start banning books, if you start saying people cannot read this, people cannot be this, you're trying to confine the spirit that forever, as like Alex Tocqueville said, that spirit of freedom is always hovering free without being interfered with, and it makes innovation possible. It makes creativity possible. If you confine it and you try to control it with who is politically correct and things like a woke, you're going to kill that spirit. And it's so dangerous. Flying away from making present is almost like a makeover or modification of awaiting. This behavior is possible because of temporality in combination with ecstasis, ecstasy, the dream world of thinking, creativity. A friend of mine, a lawyer, my lawyer, his name is Andre Wooten. He lives in Honolulu. When he used to, as a young boy, he used to live in Seattle. And they were neighbors with Jimi Hendrix. I hope he doesn't mind me telling people. And he would say that people would ask Jimi Hendrix what he was doing. And he said most of the time he was in a situation of dreaming. And you can imagine how a great musician Jimi Hendrix became. He was in a world of ecstasy. Once in a while, we get people like those, enter our realm and they create a wonder and then they're gone. Making present is so nimble. It does not in any form interfere with the abilities of awaiting as curiosity unless it is of benefit to making present. Awaiting in the realm of ecstasis, it allows making present to modify itself. The making present becomes awaiting, so you can say it doubles itself. Or, in other words, it replicates itself. This act, it is essential in temporal. It could be an act of distraction. Awaiting is also leaving behind making present by itself. Awaiting the one which produces present for the state of present. That's a mouthful. And that's why I'm saying, those people who have been following me in this session, you got to go deep into this because it's there written. I might have not gotten the real primordial explanation of what it is or elaborated it clearly. You can go back to the real material and expound it and decipher it to get into the in-depth of the meaning. Reveal, what is there, entrapped into. Because you see, these things are complicated. You got to help me by going back and cleaning it up. In doing the leaping and abandoning making presence, it entangles itself onto the self. While doing it, is completely unaware this is happening, which puts it in a state of never dwelling anywhere. That's why you see Sartre wrote time and nothingness. I think being a nothingness. Because also nothingness is so real in the world of temporality. Actually, it helps us, nothingness, create more curiosity. But I'm not going to go into that because I haven't read it really and what concept and how Sartre deals with nothingness. We've got also to give him respect and just leave it there. When we go into his book, we're going to see how he deciphers nothingness. The last mode of present can be said to be counter-phenomena at the other pole of moment of vision. Moment of vision is the moments of discovery and innovation. You have actually discovered something. Like algorithms. It's a great science. Whoever discovered the uses of algorithms or whoever put those abilities to us, you can see how much they are helping us on the internet or in the internet to get into things like artificial intelligence. In never being anywhere, being there becomes everywhere, nowhere, but a moment of vision, carrier of existence into situation, saves the day, for it makes there be unconcealed. Because there is the world of the unknown. So whenever you hear there in Heideggerian language, he means the unknown. And there creates curiosity. And thus the fallingness in the everydayness of Dasein is there. So when I say there, it's a world of the unknown, the awaiting, and that is where always it's future. That is where making present dwells and is always hovering in the world of discovery. When present is inauthentic, the more it makes making present the unknown. The inauthentic is the unknown. When you see the inauthentic, always you can equate it with the unknown, the unriddled, the undiscovered. When present is inauthentic, the more it makes making present retreat unto itself, keeping away from potentiality of being by closing it off. But in this situation, the future comes back to make the entities be known. That's a good one. Let me just check how much time we have done. We have done 33 minutes. I'm going to go just a little further to get into 40 minutes. So, in leaping off the present, there is an atmosphere of forgetting. Curiosity clings on to what is coming next or is in the future. And as it does this, it at the same time forgets what it was up to just a few minutes ago. Curiosity forgetting the past and remembering the future is all in the realm of ontology. These are things you got to decipher, Temporality temporizes falling, bringing out temptation, tranquilization, alienation, self-entanglement, at the same time making present act of ecstasis as a characteristic, and as such it tends to temporalize itself from itself. This is the equivalent of Dasein entanglement with itself. It is in a state of ecstasis. That's a mouthful. And that's where the meat is. That's where mental gymnastics is required to take full effect. Temporizing temporizes because tempo, like when you're playing music, there is tempo. It's like moving from one note to the other one key to the other one, tempo, you are going from, it's ecstasis. It actually is like a dream world, the world of creativity. Temporalizes, falling, which I said is being thrown out there, thrownness, in the everydayness, for you to exist in the world of the unknown. Falling, bringing out temptation. It brings out temptation. Tranquilizes you. Creates a kind of a vertigo. It creates a vertigo effect. Hyperreality, alienation, repetition, self-entanglement, at the same time making present act of ecstasis. Making present is an ecstasy. It's a beautiful thing to kind of comprehend. It's an ecstasy. It's a kind of a situation of psychedelic situation. In making present, existence is ruptured. But this does not mean the separation of itself from itself and itself from the I. As Dasein makes present, it still remains temporal. Dasein is temporal by nature. It has a tempo. That's why it can handle ecstasy. And so, in a state of awaiting and forgetting, as it makes present, Dasein still understands itself, though not in close link with its potentiality for being. It is lost in the world of ideas and world of thinking, is in this pure ecstasy. Making present is always replenishing the environment. Because you see, it is the one which helps us to innovate. It's the one which helps us to create things that make